Going good, good. All right, awesome. So, like Martha mentioned, my name's Rio Tazewell, and I was supposed to be speaking on a plenary session earlier. There was a little miscommunication about what time I was supposed to be here, but I just wanted to share a little bit with you all about some work that I'm doing now, working with People for the American Way. We are a progressive advocacy organization that's working with a coalition of all different types of nonprofits. We've got environmental nonprofits, social justice nonprofits, labor groups, and all of these organizations are working to do really great progressive work in their areas of interest. And they've all realized that there's an underlying systemic problem that's preventing progress on so many different fronts. And that is the issue of money in politics. So have you all heard of a Supreme Court case decision, Citizens United? Anyone show of hands? So you all are familiar with that. That happened in 2010. There was a couple Supreme Court case decisions before that have created this system in which outside interests can spend unlimited amounts of money in our political elections. The first one was in 1976. In that case, it was called Buckley versus Valeo. And that case basically said that money is speech. And it really opened the door to this crazy notion that, money is speech and that corporations are people and that they are protected underneath the First Amendment. So there's this coalition that's realizing that in order to address environmental issues, social justice issues, we need to get money out of politics. And there's two ways that can be done. Either we need another Supreme Court case that basically overturns these previous Supreme Court cases, or we need a constitutional amendment. So we're working to get an amendment passed. We feel like that is the most viable strategy at this point, since Supreme Court justices are appointed for life. We can't just sit around and hope that we get a more progressive Supreme Court when this issue is causing more and more problems every passing year. So the 28th Amendment, as it's being called, it's actually being called the Democracy for All Amendment, has been introduced in the Senate and in the House. And folks are really excited because it's getting a lot of momentum. We actually have 48 co-sponsors in the Senate right now, which is huge. We almost have a majority. And it's going to the Senate floor for a vote in September, which is unprecedented. Folks are really surprised that it's gotten so much momentum so fast. Given the current political situation that we're in, and it being the case that money in politics unfortunately has become a very partisan issue, the likeliness of this proposed amendment actually getting passed and signed into law is relatively small. And we at People for the American Way and the United for the People Coalition recognize that. But we feel that if we can get a majority vote, 51 senators or more, when it goes to the floor in September, that'll be a huge victory in terms of building a movement around the issue of money in politics. So during the August recess, we're going to be targeting a handful of Democratic senators, particularly that have not yet endorsed and signed on to the amendment, to encourage them to do so and to get their constituents to reach out to them and let them know that they want them to sign on and be a co-sponsor of this amendment. So if you're interested in finding out who those senators are, I would encourage you to go to unitedforthepeople.org. We have a list of all of the folks that have co-sponsored, both in the House and in the Senate. And then we have a list of folks that have not co-sponsored it yet either. And we also have a list of state legislators and local elected officials that have come out in support of a constitutional amendment, which actually includes some Republicans as well. So on the state and local level, it's not strictly a partisan issue. Unfortunately, in Congress, it has become one, which is not particularly a surprise. But it's worth mentioning that 16 states have endorsed or passed a resolution saying that they would support a constitutional amendment, which is huge. And 550 municipalities have done the same thing. And this is really important because in order to pass a constitutional amendment, we have to get 2/3 of Congress and then 3/4 of the 50 states to endorse it. So the local and the state organizing is really laying the foundation for this to happen, which is really exciting. And after the vote in September, we want to use the record that's generated from this. We're going to be able to see who voted for it, who voted against it, and we want that to be really used as a platform going into the November election so that we can really lay the hammer down on folks that did not support it and really thank the people that did support it. And moving into 2015, I'm just kind of giving you the lay of the land. We're looking at this as a really long-term strategy because it has to be. In 2015, we're going to be focusing on a number of key states that already have introduced resolutions in addition to the 16 that have already passed them supporting a constitutional amendment. And in 2016, hopefully we can make the issue of money in politics part of the presidential primary. So we're going to be putting a lot of effort into New Hampshire, since it's the first primary state, to hopefully shape the debate and get some of the presidential primary candidates talking about the issue of money in politics and hopefully connecting the dots to other issues. So I'm sure you all are familiar with lobbying and how it works and how money can affect the political process through campaigns and the donation of money to campaigns. So clearly this has created a clear conflict of interest because politicians have to spend so much of their time raising money. It's been estimated that senators have to spend 5 to 6 hours a day raising money. That's essentially over half of their time. They have to raise about $2,500 every single day. That includes weekends and holidays to raise the amount of money that it takes to win a general senatorial campaign. It's insane. So in order to have a government that really works, we need elected officials that are able to spend the majority of their time legislating. And when they're spending the majority of their time raising money, then it's not going to work. So people and organizations are realizing this and making it a priority, and it's a very exciting time to be coming in on this movement. I was recently hired by People for the American Way just about a month ago to coordinate this campaign. I'm the first person that is working on this particular issue full-time in this organization, so it's very exciting. My background is actually in climate change organizing and sustainability, and I've been active for a number of years advocating for climate policy and renewable energy incentives and whatnot, and realized that the issue of money in politics really is the systemic problem that we need to address. So there's a lot of energy that's coalescing around this issue. The only thing that we really need to do now is make folks coalesce around this particular proposed amendment, because there's a lot of ideas out there in terms of how to solve the problem, and there's some differences of opinion about whether this amendment versus another amendment would be best. And this amendment is kind of a middle-of-the-road strategy. So it goes a long way in overturning Citizens United in that it says that money actually is not free speech and it can be regulated by Congress and the states. There are some organizations in this coalition that feel that it does not go far enough in that it does not instate a system of publicly financed elections, which, for me personally, I feel like that's probably the best solution, and I think a lot of folks agree with that. But, given the hyper-partisan nature of our political system, this amendment's more of a middle-of-the-road strategy. So I guess in closing, I would really encourage everyone to check out our website, unitedforthepeople.org. I'm going to be here all day. I've got a lot of cards with me. I would love to connect with you, whether you're a student or whether you work for an organization, so that we can talk about how we can connect the dots between environmental issues and the issue of money in politics. Thank you so much. I don't know if anyone has any questions. I'd be happy to answer them. Awesome.